Good morning, Com 131. Welcome. Hope everything is going okay for you and that you're keeping caught up with class. Just wanted to go over a couple things. First of all, because of the computer problems at Mott, I have allowed all assignments to be due tonight for the first 2 weeks. So your first week assignments due tonight, the 25th. This past week's assignment due tonight, the 25th. So make sure you're getting all of those in. If you have any issues at all and you've been unable to do anything for class or you need to withdraw, be sure you check with financial aid first so you do not lose your financial aid if you get that. And then you can contact the registrar's office, registration. If you need to get a hold of them and you don't have the email, I think I sent it out, you can call the call center at 810-762-0200, okay? And they will help you and walk you through it. Just know your student number. It's a lot easier if they know that. So I want you to know that. The other thing you could do is literally, if it wasn't working for you, you could always ask them to backdate a drop that you do not want to pay for a class that you had difficulty, getting into, or ask for a late start class. All right, next thing is we are getting ready to move toward our first speech. So what I've had you do right now is say hello on discussion board to one another. So thank you for being so generous and replying to one another and welcoming people. Then I had you do an impromptu. Just get on there, pick a topic that I listed and talk about it. If you've got a topic that, would be appropriate and you want to talk about that, you can do that too. I'm just trying to give you some general ideas. The purpose of this is just to get you a little bit more comfortable before you start giving your speeches, maybe how to use the YouTube and how to say hello. And I hope you read my comments because I do listen and read everything you send. I'm having a lot of fun with that. So, I appreciate what you're sharing. And, I want you to know that you can do that. And then if you have a question for me, you can write it right back at that same area, or you can email me a question if you need to. So don't worry about that. I am giving A's for the first few impromptus. So just do them and you will get your credit. Try to follow the 1 minute rule or 1.5 minute rule. But pretty much, I just want you to get the practice. So where are we going with some of these things? Well, first of all, I have had questions about delivery. This week, I think, I can't remember when, I posted a little bit about delivery. And in speech in general, there are 4 types of delivery. There is memorization. We do not do that in this class at all. And even in theater, people ad-lib. So you do not have to do memorization. You should be familiar with your speech to know what you're going to do, but do not memorize it. There is also reading, also called manuscript. And some of you are like, I don't like to read. All right, well, I had you look at that speech with Amanda Gorman, and then this week I'm going to have you look at some other speeches. There are some people that are excellent at, reading their work, and it's fantastic, and it's great to know how to do that. But I'm not expecting you to read your speeches in class. What I want you to do is talk to us in a confident, natural style, just like you would talk to somebody else any day. Maybe not like you talk to your friends. You got to kind of clean it up a little bit, but the idea is we're just talking normal, just like I'm talking to you now. The third type of delivery is an impromptu. That's actually when you're not planned or prepared at all. You're asked to get up and say a few words. I never want you to panic. As we begin to talk about structure in class, you need to know that the format of a speech is intro, body, conclusion. All you're going to do in impromptu is intro, body, conclusion. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. All right, so some of you have asked, what's my favorite holiday? Well, my favorite holiday is, and then you would go through like you have, and then you'd give some examples. So what makes it my favorite holiday? Well, I like, reading the newspaper and the ads. I like the football. I love seeing my family, and the food is fantastic. Talk a little bit about that, give examples, and then when you conclude, you just say, so everyone, Thanksgiving or whatever is my favorite holiday. That is the structure of a speech. So you don't have to panic because I've even been asked on the job, could you get up and explain what's going on? And I'm like, okay. So here's what's going on. Thank you for asking me today. There's 2 things, or maybe 3, that I want you to know about. And then I summarize and I say, now you know what's going on, and I sit down. Now you know that even if you're asked to get up and say a few words, you can plug it into a pattern, intro, body, conclusion. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them, and you will be successful. So impromptu, the third. The fourth and final, and the one we're going to do for all of our speeches, is called extemporaneous. Okay, so it's a long word, EXT. That's the answer on the quiz, you know, all that. Extemporaneous. And that means that you should be speaking in a natural, confident style, but also you are practiced and prepared. You know, there's nothing wrong with preparing what you want to say. And I am going to recommend and show you in class examples of speakers' outline. Do not write it word for word. If you do, you might make a mistake because you're trying to read it and you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't know what I was going to say, or I forgot, or I skipped a line. Just kind of, hey, I'm going to talk about this. Here are 3 things I want to say. Talk about the 3 things, summarize, and you're good. So I'm making it simple, but this is a 100 level class, and it really is the foundation of how to do a speech. You just build on that and add, you know, a lot of other things as you go through. So extemporaneous delivery, you're practiced and prepared, you went through it, you practiced it in your head, you did it in the mirror, you sat out in your car, you had your family sit down, you talked to your dog, whatever it took, and you went through, okay? So that's how we're gonna do it. You don't have to worry about reading and stumbling. Focus on your message. I will be having another little thing about stage fright, which is pretty much fear of the unknown. But the more you do it, the more you know. And you're also going to be your own worst critic. Believe me, we will love your message. If you love your message, your classmates and I will love your message. So do not be too hard on yourself. Enjoy what you're telling and sharing with us, and we will enjoy it too. So I just wanted to go through that little bit right there so you wouldn't worry about it. And now I want to tell you a little bit about what my plan is for the next couple weeks. So I asked you to brainstorm this week, and the purpose of that is to realize that when you're given a speech, you're given a general goal of what you're going to be doing, okay? It's either to inform or to persuade, all right? Now, there is a third type called entertainment, and I'm sure your speeches will be entertaining, some of them, but we're not going to focus on that. Maybe your demos might be entertaining, and that's all good. But the primary 2 types of speeches are inform and persuade. Your favorite place and or activity, your speech to inform, and your demonstration are all informative in nature. That means they are put together to increase the audience's awareness or understanding about a topic. They are put together to educate people, explain something, teach something, all of those words. That's what it means to inform people about something, okay? Maybe tell us something we didn't know about before, or maybe we knew, but you added more things to it, so we have a better understanding. So keep that in mind. Now, your impromptus, again, I mentioned it's just a little bit of practice to get you out there, pay attention to the time, you know, stuff like that. That's all fine. But it will help you when you're getting ready to do your speech to inform, because we're just going to take the same idea of a format, which I'm going to be covering for you this week, where you're going to look at, I have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. We also call that the open, the body, and the close. And again, tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. So once you get that general goal and you brainstorm, if it's sports, you might break it down and say, well, I'm going to talk about some famous athletes, or I'm going to talk about rules of a sport, the history of a sport, drug use in sports. I'm going to talk about Hall of Fame. I'm going to talk about famous coaches. I'm going to talk about, sports in the Olympics. You can kind of break it down into what you're interested in. So after the general goal will come specifically what you want to talk about from your goal of to inform. You can decide on a topic, and I already said that brainstorming means take a personal inventory of what you are like in your life. And that's why I commented. You had great things on your student inventory, in your introduction. A lot of the things that you've already shared with me, you can talk about those things for your speeches, okay? But once you kind of break down and decide what you want to talk about, you've got to get your angle. So your specific purpose for a 5-minute speech, you only have 5 minutes. You don't have 30 or an hour. It's pretty quick. You want to get your angle on what you're going to talk about, okay? So I'm going to use sports for a minute. I've used an example where a student said, I want to talk about football. Okay, well, that's still pretty broad, so how could we break it down? Well, I want to talk about what we have to do to get ready for next week's game, okay? So that was cool. It was, watching films, a lot of conditioning, running plays, whatever, getting enough sleep and talking about nutrition. You could decide then. So your angle is how we get ready for next week's game. As soon as I ask you, how do you get ready for next week's game, and you answer me, that is your thesis. So where your specific goal is, I want to have this angle on my speech, this angle on my topic. Your thesis is the preview of what's to come. It's exactly what you're going to say in your speech, okay? And each of those things become a main point. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of you. So I'm letting you know that work is going to be in there. There'll be homework. I'm going to give you information about intro, body, conclusion. Read over that template and use it when you put your speech together. And what I'll do in a little while, not today, but maybe by the end of the week, I'll show you some examples of other students' favorite place or activity speech, what they talked about. I mean, I've had Cedar Point, my backyard, grandma's kitchen, the basketball court, my car, up north, Arizona, Atlanta. What you like is what you should talk about. I think it would be really fun. Just think of 3 to 5 things you want to say about it, and that's enough. So you can kind of brainstorm and list everything down, but delete what's too much. Just focus on your main things, and then a brief outline called a speaker's outline without writing it word for word will help you put that together, okay? So what we've done there is taken the general goal, which is to inform, get your angle on it. Specifically, what do you want to talk about? What's your angle on it? And then what are you exactly going to say, your thesis or the preview, and then say it. And that's in the main body of the speech. So I also put in there for coming up is understanding what the function is of each part of the speech. So you have intro, body, conclusion. Your intro should be short. It should not be over 30 seconds, 35 seconds, maybe 40. It shouldn't exceed, more than a fifth of your speech ever. Okay, it's just brief. And when you do your introduction, you never want to start with my speech is about. Now, I know a lot of you are probably going to say, hey, this is Gabe, or, this is Haley, and that's great. You can tell us who you are because we're still getting to know you, and you're not in our classroom like physically where we can, talk every day. So I'm okay with that. But then I want you to start in. And starting in for an introduction means ask a question, give an interesting statistic, use a quote, start with a story. I mean, whatever you would like to share like that. So I might say, how many of you have ever been to Cedar Point? Really? Okay, and then give a little background. Well, I've been to Cedar Point 3 times, and then talk a little bit. And if you ever get a chance to go, my recommendation is to go on the 3 favorite roller coasters and then list them, okay? Now you've gotten our attention and gave a little background, and then the last important part of your introduction is state the thesis or the preview, okay? Some instructors call it your thematic statement. It's kind of like writing a paper. Tell them what you're going to talk about and then follow up. What's great about speech is you have to be clear. We're going to talk in everyday terms. We're not talking in, medical jargon or things that people don't get. Just talk to us straight so that everyone can relate to it, okay? And tell us what you want to say. So then you go to the body of the speech. Your body is the vast majority of your speech. It's 85 to 90% of all your material. What I usually recommend is think about what you want to say and write out your points, then go back and create an introduction, then put together a conclusion, but work on your body first. So I don't know. I honestly don't like to ride the rides at Cedar Point, but I've certainly been there. So, I can't even remember what they're called now, but the one that goes up and down, the dragster. So maybe you want to talk about the dragster, the Raptor. Maybe you want to talk about that. The swing, the one where my kids always threw up. So whatever you want to talk about, you can pull those things out. So in the body, the function of that is to have 3 to 5 main points and never more than 7, ever. People remember 7. They can remember your 7-digit phone number, they can remember, but they really can't remember 16 or 10 points. Also, When you're speaking to your audience, they're there to listen to you, okay? They're gonna get lost. What you've got going for you is you have to sound organized. If you say there's 3 things I want you to learn, or 3 things I want you to get at the grocery store, okay, people can usually do that. But as soon as you say there's 10 things, people are like, oh my God, 10 things, I'm gonna write this down. I do that. If my husband says, can you pick up all this stuff at the store? I'm like, you better text it to me, because I understand you want eggs and milk and you want, whatever, turkey burgers, but the rest of this, I can't remember it. So you have to remember that that's what we're doing. So we're telling them what we're gonna talk about, we're gonna talk about it, but we have to have a limit, especially for a 5-minute speech, of what we can cover. 3 to 5 main points is your best bet for your favorite place or activity speech. That's enough. If you want to add more for your speech to inform with research, you certainly can. All right, so I want you to know that. Then your support, or your main points of the speech, 1, 2, 3, whatever, you have, supporting information under each one. You can use examples and personal experience. That's the number 1 and 2 things you should use for your favorite place and activity. Tell us where the place is, what you liked about it, what you do when you're there, if you go shopping, if there's food you guys like to eat, if you hang out with certain people, if you take walks, just that's all we need. We don't need facts, we don't need quotes, we don't need statistics. As soon as you do that, you're researching, and you're not required to research for your first speech. I don't care if you've got some facts and you want to throw them in, that might be fun, but you're not required to, so, why do it? So speak from personal experiences or any examples you want to share, okay? And I think that makes it, a lot more fun. Okay, so that's going to be, your support for that. In a regular speech to inform, that's when you can put in facts, statistics, quotes, maybe definitions if someone might not understand what something is. So you're going to be looking to do a little bit more, and you would be researching for that speech. But I don't want to get ahead of you. So that's the function of our body, is to have 3 to 5 support materials and support it with information to explain your main points. One way to get great explanations is detail. So people like detail. How much did those shoes cost? How much does it cost to camp there? What's the best time of day to go to Cedar Point? How much would it cost to buy a bottle of water there? So think of the journalist's 6 questions. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. That will help you. If you answer those questions when you're like, I don't know if I have enough material, answering some of those questions will get you more material. Who did you go on vacation with? Who do you play baseball with? How did you get to the game? What was the funny story that happened when you were there? So that's how you get more detail. Okay, now we're down at the conclusion. The function of the conclusion is to sum up your speech and leave a final thought. What you don't want to do is say, and that's all I got, I'm done. Or that's it, I don't know, I have nothing else. Most people will pause for a minute and say, thank God I got through that speech. Just remember to say, okay, so if you ever get a chance to go to Cedar Point, I know you'll really enjoy going on those 3 roller coasters, this, and that. It's a lot of fun. Take some extra money, pack your lunch, have a great day, and enjoy the sights of Lake Erie as well. So you want to summarize your speech and leave a final thought. So that's what I'm going to recommend, that you just kind of keep it simple. Again, it might be a 30-second conclusion. Some people like to reflect from what they said in the introduction and go back to it again and visit in the conclusion. And that's fine too. If you started with a story, end with a story. If you start with a quote, you can end with a quote. That's all fine, but you don't have to for right now. We just want to do our first speech. So I'm just giving you a little background of what's going to be happening. Let me look at this. What else I wanted to talk about? I think I hit the main things: the intro, body, conclusion, open, body, close. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. So I don't want you to panic. You'll read some stuff about stage fright. Again, it's really just fear of the unknown, and the more you do it, the better off you're going to be. Practice, practice, practice. Recognize it's normal. Take deep breaths, do positive imagery, and picture yourself being successful. Plan, have everything in place that you're going to need. And, I really am about building your confidence as well as letting you understand how to put a speech together. So you will see, if you look at how I grade this when I share that later, only 30 points of your 100-point speech will be about, and this is for like your Inform, will come from the delivery portion, okay? 30% or 30 points. So that means when you write a good outline, you get points. When you have a good introduction and you don't forget to put your thesis in, you get points. If you have 3 to 5 points, you get points. So, I mean, and if you put on your conclusion, you get points. So I'm all about all of that, and I want you to learn, and I don't want you to worry so much about delivery right now. Try to find yourself a nice area to give your speech in and just enjoy the experience. That's really all I've got today. I just wanted to tell you hello, thank you, get everything in. I hope that this helps a little bit. I will put up examples at the end of the week about what is a speech to inform with research. Follow the module all the way through. The modules list what I have. If you see something wrong, let me know right away. I noticed that the dates populated incorrectly once they reset the computers, so please let me know and I'll fix everything as quick as I can. I'm trying to go a couple of weeks in advance, okay? Just so you know. All right, take care, have a great day, be safe out there.